Trustees. Today is Monday, December 12th. We are in regular session. I will say that we had no action items, no reportable action items for closed session. I will also make just one announcement that after the formalities here, we will ask for just a revision of the agenda. So that is to come. Just a forecast, but prior to that, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And Dolly, would you lead us?
Oh, I can't read it from here, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll start. Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to all. We do have a item that got on as informational that we would like to take some action on tonight, and that shows on the agenda as Roman numeral 8, item 2, which is a 2021-22 audit report. We would like the board's consideration of modifying the agenda for this evening to move that as an action item. Under item Roman numeral 10, it would be the first item considered. If that's acceptable, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to move the item that's currently showed as Roman numeral 8.2 to action items for this evening. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Action is taken to approve that. Next is the administration of the oath of office for 3 returning trustees, Mr. Sherman in Ward 1, Mr. Nunes in Ward 2, and myself in Ward 5. Is that a formal
That is.
swearing?
It is a swearing. If I could have Trustee Sherman, Trustee Nunes, and Trustee Lane just maybe stand there. Go ahead, Greg, just stand at your place right there. Perfect. We had 3 of our trustees up for election in November. 2 ran unopposed, and Trustee Sherman had a competition, had a challenger. All 3 prevailed, and so at this time we'd like to administer the oath. Trustee Sherman for Ward 1, Trustee Nunes for Ward 2, and Trustee Lane for Ward 5. So if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ken Nunes,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
The Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I swear
that I
I
swear
swear
and will bear true faith
and will bear true faith
and allegiance
and
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Thank you. Ken, you got through the will well part.
Make sure we all heard him say that.
I'll tell you, I'm glad you broke that down into small increments, because I think Greg was going to have a hard time.
And Lori, I caught you for number of times being sworn in.
You what?
Caught you for the number of times being sworn in.
Oh, you sure have. That's right. That's right. Good. I have an equal. I like that. No longer the sole veteran.
So the next item is the organizational meeting of the Board of Trustees, the annual organizational meeting, election of officers. We typically.
I normally do that,
you?
yes.
It's on to you.
So the first office that we want to select is the election of board president, and I will accept nominations.
I will move that we nominate John Lane for another term as president.
Second. I don't know if you need a second, but
I don't either. Any other nominations? Okay, those in favor of John Lane as as our president for the 2023 year, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
I'll abstain.
John abstains, thank you. Motion carries. Now, do you want to run the rest of it, or do I run? I forget, John. I think now that you're secured as president, go ahead and finish it then.
Thank you. Next office up is the office of vice president. We'll accept nominations.
I would like to nominate Raymond Macareno for vice president of the board.
Any other nominations? I'd entertain a motion, or I'd like a second. Actually, I'd entertain a motion to accept and cast a unanimous ballot for Raymond Macareno as vice president of the Board of Trustees.
So move.
Moved by Nunes and seconded by Sherman for the proposal as outlined. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Carries unanimously. Congratulations. I think it was about a year or so ago where we were in a public setting and we're introducing folks. I, introduced all along and introduced Raymond as a future president, and so he's just one step closer to that. So, on a clear path. Next is the election of the board clerk. Accept nominations.
I nominate Ken Nunes.
Anybody interested?
I nominate Ken.
Okay.
Thank you, Lori.
Trustee Nunes.
I'm the only one paying attention.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Any other nominations? If not, entertain a motion to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for Ken Nunes as board clerk.
So move.
Moved by Sherman
Second.
and seconded by Macareno. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And no abstentions, so passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ken. Authorized signature forms, that will be a procedural item, correct? No action, no other specific action?
Just to approve it. I just need an approval.
To approve
To approve.
the authorized signatures as
To
were
approve
discussed.
authorized signatures.
Second.
Moved by Cardoza and seconded by Macareno to approve the authorized signature forms as was distributed. Next up is schedule of regular board meetings. Any comment on that? Or accept
Put
it?
it up on here if anyone wants to look.
Okay.
It's up there. Generally speaking, it'll be the second Monday of every month. Do we have any that stray from that?
No,
Nope.
Oh, none of them this year. Okay.
everything landed.
You'll send out the invites, Megan? I like that. Thanks.
So accept a motion to accept this schedule as posted?
So moved.
Second.
Or Cardoza and Nunes
Yep.
to accept the regular schedule for board meetings for 2023. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. None. And no abstentions, so passes unanimously. Next item is the committee representation. I would maybe start by asking if there's any committees that are currently assigned that people would like to change. Or if there's any different committees that anyone would like to sit on from that. Hearing seen none, I would ask that we approve the current committee representation as it exists. And, sorry, I don't have that right in front of me, but you all saw it
Yes, we're
as
looking right
it
at
was
it.
presented out. Okay, thank you.
Move we approve.
All right. Moved by Sherman and seconded by Macareno to accept and continue the board representation. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. And no abstentions. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And I would note both for the trustees and for the audience that representation on some of these committees takes a significant amount of effort, and we do certainly appreciate all of the effort for that throughout the year. Next item is public comment per board policy. Any person may address the board at this time, either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Maximum 5 minutes is allowed each speaker, with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. At this time, we will take public comments concerning items on the agenda. Anyone? Hearing seen none, I would, at this point, ask if there's anyone who'd like to make a public comment on a item not on the agenda. Please, if you come in for the record, please just
When did you sneak in?
Right now.
State your
Got you
name.
right on time.
That's how she rolls.
Good evening, Leslie Cavilia, and I'm the city manager here in Visalia. And I just wanted to come here tonight to say on behalf of the city council and really a much broader group who didn't ask me to, but to say thank you. Thank you for having the vision for proposing the university campus, for having the fortitude to think ahead, to buy the land, to really be very aggressive, and to put it on the ballot. Because what you have done is going to make a difference in this community for decades and for generations to come. And I don't think there's enough to say thank you for what you have done for us and what you have done for those who are going to follow us. And so on behalf of the council and myself, we just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. What a nice surprise.
Yes, that's right. Anyone else? All right, we will move to the board and executive staff reports. The first, Mr. Garbani, the student trustee report.
How's it going, everybody? For the student trustee report, I only have a little bit to report, and I apologize for being gone last meeting. I was sick, and thanks to my fill-in, Michael, the president. We had a toy drive and a sweater contest. As many of you know, it was a great turnout. We had about 7 big boxes of toys to donate to Toys for Tots and the U.S. Marine Reserve, or Marine Corps Reserves. We had a movie night on campus with the movie Elf, and it was actually quite successful. I think they counted out like 200 people in attendance. So we had a smaller turnout in Hanford, but overall, pretty good success. In Visalia, actually, and all 3 campuses, we're planning on handing out donuts to the students, about several thousand on the first week of classes. It will be just to welcome the new students and to celebrate MLK, which will be, I believe, on that Monday, MLK Day. As far as the other 2 campuses go, Hanford and Tulare, I have nothing to report about Hanford and Tulare. We have the Tulare campus held mock interviews for high school and college students, as well as professionals, in collaboration with the Tulare Joint High School District, the Tulare Chamber of Commerce, the Tulare Business and Education Council. It was a great turnout. Sheriff Mike Boudreau gave an inspiring leadership talk during the lunch. And then I guess the COS Ag Irrigation students have been pretty active. They were able to visit Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and the Irrigation Training Research Center, as well as Las Vegas, within the last month to attend the Irrigation Show and Education Week. That's all. Thank you.
Next up is the board member reports. Mr. Sherman?
I'd just like to kind of follow up on what Leslie said. I was at Dr. Boone's office this past week. I've got to have cataract surgery. I had to put my hand over my right eye. I went to renew my driver's license, and I couldn't see squat. So I was in Dr. Boone's office, and his assistant was there, and I started talking about COS and what we've done with Measure C, and that if you graduate from COS, chances are the foundation may help you go through Fresno State. She said, I'm going back to school. So I mean, it's going to make a difference.
Thank you.
Steve
I don't
Nunes.
see Tim Foster here today, so I'll just mention that in his absence, I'm the representative from the board to the foundation, and I would just like to, in Tim's absence, maybe give him a shout out as to what I believe the great job the foundation is doing under his leadership. And so I will continue to attend those board meetings. So it's kind of a fun situation to see all the great work they're doing. I'd like to thank City Manager Cavilla for coming, and her words are very much appreciated, and I know the council supported the measure, and it's amazing what a few were able to accomplish in this time and place, given the fact that not many of these type of measures were passing throughout the state of California. So I think we're a little bit unique in that regard, and it's going to be money well spent.
I actually just wanted to welcome my wife, Micaela, and my younger children, Marco and Hema, for attending today's meeting.
Speech, Marco, speech.
I know Hema's going to be needing to leave soon to attend ballet, but since everyone's talking about Measure C, I was thinking to myself, and we took a photo that in a few years when Marco graduates high school, he may be able to get a 4-year degree here in Visalia and never have to leave, so we can save money on his room and board. So
We can hang out, Marco. We can have lunch every day, buddy.
a great benefit for the community, and even looking out 10 years from now, the difference it will make. So we look forward to that project. Just really quick, this past week I attended the gallery/auction that took place by, I believe Printworks is the group of students that it benefited, and got a couple of pieces of artwork. So I'll look forward to framing those and putting them up. And I'm on a personal doing a fundraiser to help benefit the Giant Pantry, asking friends and family to donate personal hygiene items. And so look forward to, after this weekend, being able to contribute that to our pantry for our students. Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback on what Raymond said, just because as you were talking about your small children, it reminded me of when we passed the measure in Tulare. And my two older boys, or my middle boys actually, my older one did not go to COS, but my two middle boys are, one's at COS now, one already graduated, and they were about that age when we passed the bond in Tulare, and they were my campaign people. So they were the ones that held the sign on the swing set for the measure in Tulare, and both of them took a majority of their classes at the Tulare campus. So, it seemed so far away back then, so I guess maybe I've been on here too long, but, but yeah, so you will see that, and that will be awesome. I'd also like to give a shout out to our sports department. I was able to meet with my cousin's son, who played football here, Little John, Jason, and he's now in Florida. And he can't say enough good things about COS when he talks to students, so that's amazing. And I was at a breakfast Thursday morning here in Visalia, professional people, and the bond was the talk of the breakfast, and it was all positive, so that's great. So congratulations to everybody all the way around.
Lori, just to follow up on that, I was watching South Florida play, I don't know who it was, and he scored a touchdown that
He
game.
did.
Yeah.
Do you know, we were in
And so-
Oklahoma, like 30 miles from there, but we had a wedding, so we missed the game, but I was watching it on my phone.
That guy could end up in the NFL.
Yes,
I mean,
he-
a little bit of a late bloomer, but boy,
Yeah.
what a career he had here, and then to go to USF and do the things he's doing, really exciting.
It could be another Antonio Gates.
He could be. Yeah, he could be.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
Thank you. A few of the trustees attended this last month, at least I think it was last month. It's kind of a blur in the season. The kickoff for the accreditation process is kind of getting back in to things, and of course, Dolly always has some great numbers and all that. So it was a very good presentation. Thank you, Dr. Lucerna, for being our lead in that, and also in the state as well. I think that's all I have. So we'll move to foundation report, which I think, Ken, anything that you would like to share from the foundation?
Yeah, I think I covered it
Okay.
pretty well.
Very good.
Nothing.
Thank them publicly for the $300,000 donation that they made in support of Measure C. That was huge, because so often these campaigns spend a lot of their time hitting up vendors and/or individuals, twisting employees' arms to donate, to pay for advertising and things like that. And those are just not the kinds of things that we wanted to spend our time on. So a year before we started this, in fact, fall of 2021, we met with the foundation and told them what we planned on doing. They had a kind of a whole year to wrap their head around how they wanted to support this effort, and they came back with a $300,000 donation. So when you look at the TV commercials, the radio commercials, the print media, the signs, and all the other things that we were able to do to kind of get the word out there, that was all done through the foundation's generous gift. We thank them. Ken and I thank them personally at a dinner last week, but they were fabulous. And then their president, Tom Gianpietro, I felt like he and I were joined at the hip for about 2 months.
Me too.
Yeah, he helped with Greg's campaign too, but I'd go to bed with a text from Tom, and I'd wake up with a phone call about 6 a.m. from Tom, and he was just Johnny on the spot, putting up signs and doing just the things that you never have enough hands for. Tom was fabulous, and so we thanked him publicly as well.
This community has been so good for giving to the COS Foundation. I mean, it's grown like crazy over the years, so.
That's what happens when you have a good thing.
All right. Thank you. Next up is a accreditation report. Dr. Lucerna, speaking of which.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. As Board President Lane already mentioned, we had a wonderful kickoff to accreditation on November 16th. We had a lot of very chilly people in the gym, and I wanted to say thank you to those board members who joined us and survived the chill. But we had a great meeting, and I think from there we had our smaller group, our accreditation work group, meet for another 2 hours, and it just got everybody motivated. So it was really, really just a great start-off, kickoff, got everyone talking and kind of rallying around what we have to go through next. So thank you for all of you that attended, and thank you to Katie Kane, who's here tonight, and Dr. Sarah Harris, who really helped organize everything that happened that day. So I appreciate that. And in your packet, you have the preliminary agenda for the ACC-JC open session, which is Wednesday, January 11th, and that will be held in Sacramento. I will be attending that. The open session is on the Wednesday at 1:30, and you have the agenda there to show what we will be looking at that day. There's several policies that will be reviewed, general reports, and that is basically a couple of policies and some updates and reports, but we're letting you know about it, and thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you again. Next up is Superintendent President's Report. Dr. Calvin?
Thank you, President Lane. And I wonder if we can just take a moment to have a moment of silence for a community leader that we've lost just in the last few hours. Basil Perch served as a city council member for years and years. He's been very supportive of just about everything Visalia and Tulare County for decades. We're lucky enough to employ one of his fabulous daughters, Tiffany Wainwright, and his other daughter is having a wonderful career with Visalia Unified and Tulare County Office of Ed. And his son, BJ, is a wonderful community member, contractor locally. We lost Basil this afternoon to cancer, and he will definitely be missed. And I just think it's appropriate if we would take just a moment of silence on his behalf. Thank you very much. Basil, you'll be missed, my friend. Okay, I've got 5 or 6 items, but I hope to kind of roll through them fairly quickly. The first was kind of a late ad, and it's a resolution that came from our academic senate. Ordinarily, if it's a 10+1 item, things under their purview, President Arzola would present it. This one is a little bit of a wobbler, as they say. It doesn't quite fit. So we just agreed it's probably better that I give you the background. The district supports the Faculty Enrichment Committee chair, the FEC chair, with administrative support. And historically, that's come from the senior secretary or admin assistant to the director of the LRC, the library. We've had a gap in service in that job. They've had difficulty in replacing it, and so we've been filling in. Actually, Katie Kane is here in the front row. She's done a wonderful job, and so has Shelley Giles, who is Dean Wilcoxon's assistant. They've filled in and done a good job of supporting the FEC chair. I think the FEC chair has also had some turnover as well. At any rate, we've stumbled here and there, and so the Senate has resolved to let us know, hey, you really need to do something about this. They would propose a full-time administrative assistant to FEC. I think the solution probably lies between what we've had in the past and what they're proposing. And I'm not going to read the entire resolution. You have it in front of you, board members. But they've resolved that the Academic Senate requests that the district create a separate staff position that is solely devoted to FEC support and faculty and staff professional development. Again, I don't necessarily think it's going to go that direction, but as we work through this, maybe it will. I think it's probably safer to say it'll be a part-time position that will reside in human resources, and we'll go about it that way. But we are working on this issue and just felt like it was important to get it in front of the board and then to share what the resolution was. So any questions about that, board members?
I was distracted by a visitor that came in late.
Yeah. The part of the Hall of Fame just came in. That's right. Hey, John Zumwalt, welcome. So thank you for that. The second thing I wanted to bring up, and we've kind of already had an opportunity to do this, is just to confirm that Tulare County did make it through all 60,000 votes. And Measure C did pass. Excited about that. We'll be sharing more on the process and formal timeline at our board retreat in January. We will spend about the next year to 15 months in design and submittal to the Division of the State Architect. But eventually, we're going to get busy with some construction on the southeast portion of our campus. building a new university center and student union that will serve Fresno State. Obviously, that's our primary partnership, but then it'll be open beyond that to other institutions, both public and private, to the extent that we need them, so that we can have, 12 to 15 degree programs to offer students here in the South Valley. Really, really excited about that. Could not have done it without board, your support, as well as the support of the foundation and support of our faculty, staff, and administrators. So give yourselves a big hand. We just did something pretty special. Speaking of special, wanted just to give a shout out to Mac and his group, as well as Admissions and Records, for putting on an ugly sweater / toy drive / Christmas music on the quad event I believe it was last Wednesday and Thursday. I'm told we raised quite a number of toys for needy children in the region. Really, really excited about that. I think we crowned an ugly sweater champion too. Was it Ryan King that was able to win the ugly sweater contest? Does anybody?
Yes, Ryan King was the winner. It was Pace and Student. So
Oh, it was, okay.
the answer, yeah.
So then what was, I know that Will was out there with ugly sweaters and Christmas music.
It was a partnership between Pace and
Okay.
Student Activities and Affairs.
Well, thank you. Pace, thank you. Pace is always in there somewhere, aren't they? Thank you.
Missions and Records, I think, won the toy drive, like they raised the most.
Got it. I think I was seeing Ashley's emails and thought it was Admissions and Records. So Pace, I stand corrected. I'm surprised that Osiris didn't come up here and tackle me when I got it wrong.
You didn't give me a chance.
She's on her way.
Next, and I think this was put on by Puente, but maybe I should check to make sure it's not Pace as well. Puente did a coat drive in honor of our good friend Teresa Gordiana, who we lost a few years back. Just a wonderful human being, and still missed to this day. And they do an annual coat drive for children, and I was talking with Ambar Alvarez Soto in the quad this morning, and she said they got 50 jackets, new jackets, donated for the cause. So that was fabulous. Congratulations to them. Last week, we also held a Black Student Leadership Conference where I think close to 250, 260 Black students from our feeder high schools came here for a Black Leadership Conference. We had a continental breakfast waiting for them at 8:30. We had an initial meeting in the Ponderosa Lecture Hall. Then they went to several breakouts and came back together for lunch, and that was catered by our food services that just did a fabulous job. And then we concluded between noon and 1, we had former Pittsburgh Steeler Robert Golden from the Fresno area, seven-year NFL veteran. He came in for a motivational talk, and I'll tell you, we were all pumped up by the time he was done. Just a great outreach to Black students in our district. To give you an idea, about 2% of our student population is African American, Black, and that comes to about 260, 270 students. So we had as many Black high school students on our campus as we have currently enrolled. So excited about that. Want to just thank Curtis Allen, who's the new director of our HBCU Pathways program, Juan Vasquez, who is our student services dean, and a whole host of other people. Juan, should I thank anybody else specifically? You guys did a fabulous job, and I know we probably had 25 volunteers. That all comes under Jessica Morrison's leadership as well. Just a fabulous day to be a Giant, and had a lot of fun. And I know they're planning some other events as well. Just encouraging access to the Black student population in this region. And then finally, I was going to make mention of Raymond's one-man collection effort for personal hygiene that will go to our food resources and pantry. So thank you, Raymond, for doing that. So if you have anything that you want to donate, feel free just to drop it by the college to Megan and I. We'll make sure that Raymond gets it for a big send-off next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Academic Senate President's Report. Mr. Arzola, welcome.
Thank you, Board President and members of the board, Superintendent President Calvin, and distinguished members of the audience. First, want to sort of piggyback off of Max. Apologies, I do apologize. I wasn't able to make it to the last meeting, but I did not have a report, so I didn't want to make the room hotter by just being here and expelling CO2. So
I thought you were going to say I did not have an excuse, like he did.
No, he did. But I also, before I jump into my report, I do want to acknowledge the great leadership, the Black Leadership Conference. I showed up there at the last moment, and it was truly inspiring. The young energy that the youngsters gave off was certainly empowering. You know, I was a little disappointed, and I spoke with a couple of my colleagues who put on the event. And I'm hopeful that next year, the next version of this, the faculty will be involved in as well. As I conveyed to them, I don't think it takes too much to know that a student's lifetime at COS is going to be spent more time in front of faculty than what they're going to spend in front of staff and others. So it's really important that not only that the Black students feel welcome by staff, but that they feel welcome in our classroom. And the way that we do that is getting faculty involved. So I'm looking forward to the next iteration of that meeting, making sure the Academic Senate is an integral partner in the success, the great success. And also the other thing, there was an event at the Tulare Center on Friday that, again, I attended at the last moment. I think it was sponsored by the Visalia Unified School District. It was, you know, trying to conduct some outreach to at Promise youths who are in the midst of dealing with challenging circumstances. Some of them are you know, potentially drawn into gang activity and gang life. So me and a couple of colleagues went out there and wanted to make sure, again, that the faculty's face was seen, their voice was heard, and to make sure that those students are also welcomed in our classroom if they so choose to make the decision to come to our institution. So with that said, just a couple things with my report. So the November 30th meeting, the Academic Senate met for the last time this academic or this semester. We approved our curriculum, and I feel bad in saying this, but we finally approved our initiatives for the year. So we kind of cut off our nose to despite our face, or the other way around, however that saying goes, because we adopted 6 initiatives and we have 6 months left to achieve them. A good thing is 2 of them already achieved, so we're winning. I'm going to take the dub on that. Let me see. The other thing that we did approve was the resolution. I want to provide some commentary to that shortly, but I think it's really important that I conveyed the faculty and the Academic Senate's views on the need for proper support for faculty and staff professional development, and of course, the Faculty Enrichment Committee. There is one thing of note that I wanted to share with you all, and hopefully things play out in our favor, but I am recommending Ramyar Alavi Moghadam, who is a professor in our Computer Information Systems department, for consideration to be awarded the Hayward Award, Excellence in Education. Rami and the work that he's done to really connect our computer information network system programs, our courses, to local industry and the economy, was recently highlighted by Channel 26, right, the local Fox affiliate. for the great work that he's done. And I thought that was something that needed to be highlighted. So I'm looking to use my privilege as a ASCCC executive member to sort of lift up one of my colleagues and give him some state recognition. And hopefully he gains enough support. Arms, legs will be broken. I mean, I will do what I can to help Rami's application out. Beyond that, we didn't have enough time to address any of the items that we had for discussion on our agenda. I do want to circle back, though, and appreciate meeting with Superintendent President Calvin and the Vice President of Academic Services, Lacerna, about the resolution that the Academic Senate passed at our November 30th meeting. I think it's important, just again, for me to convey the views of the faculty as it pertains to the need for proper support, a well-functioning faculty professional development and learning program. And it's really, really important that the board and its designees help us address this ongoing matter. As President Calvin highlighted, it's been a thorn, right? A hole that we've missed, and I'm certainly hopeful that we can get to dealing with it, right? Again, just a couple things, right? I think it should be obvious that faculty professional development and learning activities have always been important component for education, particularly higher education at the community college level. Therefore, the need for funding, and more importantly in this respect, the need for institutional support is really, really needed. And the best way to do that is to ensure that we have the necessary administrative support for the committee and, of course, our program, our faculty development program and learning program to be, administered well and provided to the faculty. It should go without saying, but there is legislation, regulatory language that says that faculty development, professional development is a responsibility of the Academic Senate. Hence, I'm here to advocate on behalf and support of the resolution. Also, the district mission and value or vision statements also speak to this need for student success. And it's really hard to envision how we can achieve that mission and that vision without having a faculty body that is continuing its education, continuing its learning, particularly for the continuing and increasing diversity of our student population. In particular, we need professional development and learning that is specific to ensuring that our faculty are well-versed in what it takes to become equity-minded, diversity-centric, inclusive of our teaching and our classroom spaces, making sure that our class and our educational programs are accessible to all students, and that we do that with first and foremost in our mind that we are trying to eliminate any racist in systems and structures that prohibit particularly historically underrepresented students from achieving. Also our district master plan, our strategic plans include a specific goal and district objectives that speak specifically to continuous improvement, as well as improve professional development for all districts employees. And so we believe again that this resolution speaks to the need, the importance for the faculty in particular to be able to do its job and do its job well. So I urge you, I hope that we, the faculty and the board and its designees, will be able to find some amicable resolution to making sure that this issue is addressed.
And actually, probably is clarified. This resolution is about clerical support. Right. We do provide reassigned time, and I want to say that between FEC chairs, you held that position for the last, or maybe the first 2 months of this year. So
Not well.
Let's let's just remember that this is a faculty-driven thing. Yes, the district provides clerical support, but the FEC chair, a lot rides on that FEC chair, which is squarely under your purview.
Yes, sir. And notwithstanding the challenges that the faculty or the academic senate experienced, particularly last spring, trying to find somebody who was willing to be the faculty co-chair, but then a resignation of the then appointed faculty co-chair. Yes, we've had some challenges, but the faculty support or the administrative support, predates those challenges. But nevertheless, we're happy that the superintendent, President Calvin, is open to addressing that hole. I think is what he characterized it at, and we're happy to do what we can to help out. Any questions? Thank you all.
Appreciate it. All right. Next up is the COSTA President's Report. Ms. Redden? She was here.
Oh, Tracy was here.
She had to pick up her daughter.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks. So I'll presume there's no report for COSTA. The CSEA President's Report. Mr. Terry, don't...
Oh,
there you go.
Incoming president, Miss Katie Kane.
Yay. Good evening, I am Katie Kane.
And you're here in December.
I don't know that necessitates applause, but I'll take it. I am here for Mr. Terry this evening. He's not able to make it because he's helping with one of our lovely productions in the theater. So my only report that I have is that we did recently have elections. I will be taking over for Nick in January as the CSEA president. And then we also have 2 of our 3 other positions have newly appointed officers as well. So that's all we have to report, and we look forward to working with the district for the next year.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right. And then finally, for the reports, the COSAFA President's Update, Ms. Alberti. Let's see her. So we will move to informational item. And again, we'll place aside for the moment item 2 and move to item 3, which is a 2022 annual report on the COS master plan for a 10-year period.
Thank you, President Lane. Yes, we are in the midst, obviously, of a 10-year master plan, 2015 through 2025. And we're in our final strategic plan, which will run from 2021 through 2025. This is our first year's report on that 4-year strategic plan. And so I know you've been copied on the entire report. I'll walk us through page by page with very little comment, and you're welcome to stop me at any time and ask questions. The first page here is just, again, our participatory governance structure and our model for integrated planning. You should all be very familiar with this, and if not, come to convocation on January 13, and I'll give you an update. It's just the way that we make decisions and the way we plan around here. Uh-oh, I've got a few of these things that need to come in. 10-year master plan, 4-year strategic plan. Thank you, Dolly, for those animations. Oh, here's another one.
Nancy.
Goodness gracious. When you tell Dolly, limit the slides, he limits the slides, and then he has about 10 animations per slide.
I like those, Dolly.
Good job, Dolly.
We continue to be supported by 3 COS 2.0 manuals that are revised and updated every single summer. So they're dynamic documents, and we continue to use them. For tonight's discussion, most of this comes right out of the integrated planning model. Again, master plan, 10 years, strategic plan, 4 years. A lot of this is redundant, but this is what we use as evidence when our accreditors come in to see if we're doing things like we said we would. And then we get into the strategic plan, 1 mission, 4 goals, 10 measurable objectives, and then 50 day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month actions that support those objectives. Quickly, you see in goal area number 1, we've got 1 goal, which is all pertaining to growth. And the objective in that area is to grow FTES by 2% from 21 through 25, which ordinarily we could do with our eyes closed. With COVID, a little bit more difficult because we're coming out of a pretty deep hole. But as I've told you previously, we recaptured about 75% of the losses that we sustained through COVID. We've dug out of that hole substantially here in the fall of 2022. Goal area number 2, success, just deals with the rate at which we complete degrees, or our students complete degrees, certificates, and their transfer objectives. There's 4 objectives there, dealing with, again, degrees, transfer, getting through transfer level QR and English, as well as reaching our CTE employment objectives. Goal area number 3 is all about equity and making sure that all of our students have the same opportunity to succeed. And that doesn't mean giving them the same thing and hoping they'll succeed. It's giving them exactly what they need to get to the same place, and that is the finish line here. We've got 2 objectives in that area: reducing equity gaps in course success rates across all departments in the next 4 years, and then increasing the course success rate by 10% for each of our DIGs, or disproportionately impacted student groups, in QR and English by the end of their first year. And then finally, if we're doing our jobs in all those areas, we want to be able to sustain that long term. This shouldn't be a flash in the pan. We should put structures in place that ensure that we sustain this long term. That's the goal. And then the objective is, there we go, some animations. The objectives are threefold: increasing the effective use of data and transparency in our decision-making, improving our communication practices, and then improving our professional development practices that President Arzola brought up just a moment ago. So then moving right into our annual progress report, this report allows us just to kind of take our temperature. Every year, we look back on the year we just completed and decide, what did we do well, and where do we still need some work, and are we memorializing that so we don't forget about it? And that's where we're at. Currently, this was our timeline for ensuring that all of this happens. Again, a lot of this is just confirming for our creditors down the road, how did this come about? This is how we do it, by showing a detailed timeline. We thank all of our institutional planning and effectiveness committee members, because they work hard. Dr. Dolly Ozturk is a co-chair, along with David Hurst, and you can see the rest of the folks representing people from all across our 3 campuses. Thank you very much for all of your hard work. You see the strategic plan assessments here. It includes 3 parts: an update on the actions completed last year, an analysis of our district's movement towards achieving those goals identified earlier, and then identification of the actions that we're going to put on the table to complete in the current year, 2022 to 2023. A summary of progress on each objective is following in the pages to come. Those objectives were either completed, eliminated, or included in the 2022 through 2023 actions, or they're ongoing. We've institutionalized them, and it's just something that we do as a matter of due course. This is the way the report is set up and structured. You see in the top left there is the assessment of district objective 1.1, and then to the bottom right, the progress. Each of the next few pages follow this format. You can see our FTES change in goal area number 1, how for the 2020-21 year, we were 10% off the mark. We've reduced that significantly, and we think we'll be out of this hole next year and contributing back to the increase of 2% of FTES from our baseline. We think that's very achievable, and we got a little taste of that this fall. Progress there, just the work that we're doing, working on strategic enrollment, optimizing our scheduling standard meeting times, and data collection, and we have a training plan for 2022-23. Oh my goodness. We've made progress on all 4 of the actions. There's just too much, Dolly. And much of this has been carried over into the 2022-23 year. Thank you for letting me get on to the next slide. We've got 4 different objectives under goal area number 2. Students receiving awards. We really had a nice year, and again, we're coming out of a bit of a hole from 2019-20, but you see we're making nice progress there, and a lot of colleges are seeing a big gap as a result of COVID. We haven't seen a big gap. We've taken a couple micro steps back, but we feel like we've got a fighter's chance to come out of this very, very nicely, and not seeing the huge gaps that so many of our colleges and colleagues up and down the state are experiencing. So feeling pretty good there, continuing with the objectives and the actions that we put in place, however. 2.2 is all about transfer-ready students, leaving much of these objectives in place. This is the one area where I think we all feel like there's more that we can be doing. And in all of our various areas, I know we work really hard. We have great focus in this area. And part of it's just the whole reason that we pushed hard for Measure C was that at the end of the day, sometimes financial or cultural reasons inhibit our students' ability to transfer on. Sometimes they tap out after an AA degree, and we've experienced that level of frustration for a while. So we haven't made a huge deal about Measure C in the University Center yet in our strategic plan, but we do think that will help this area substantially in the area of transfer. We did make progress in these areas, and they will be held over. These actions will be held over for the 22-23 year. In the area of equity, we chipped away pretty well at this. Again, we're looking to get rid of the achievement gaps that exist with disproportionately impacted groups. And if you read all of that down in the orange, and I'm sure board members you have, you can see that for several of the groups, we've either chipped away substantially or got to a 40% reduction. There's still several groups that we're working hard to make progress. But again, with our Student Success Center, the program, EOP&S, and the various other programs that we have in place, we do think we'll make substantial inroads with respect to the equity disparity that we see among some of our disproportionately impacted groups. And again, if you just look at the groups by themselves, we talked about our black student population earlier. It's not a huge group. It only makes up 2% of our total student population. But as you've seen every fall in convocation, they are overrepresented with respect to degrees and certificates. They actually make up about 3% of our degree and certificate earners. Those are the kind of things that we like to see from our disproportionately impacted groups, overrepresented in the area of success, and we've seen that the last several years. Oh my goodness, Dolly. Holy mackerel. I need to start asking you for a PDF.
I keep seeing it there.
He likes to use the COVID, yes, he likes to use a little
I like that.
COVID.
Asterisk.
Yeah. Oh, this gives a little more background on the work that we're doing in support of equity. Again, it's in our report. Please feel free to read it at your leisure. And then finally, sustainability. You can see the progress we've made there as well in terms of how we make decisions, data and transparency, as well as supporting professional development. Again, I think goal areas 1, 2, and 3 are important, but in our past, it's getting to be our distant past, but in our past, there have been things that we did great for a year or two, and then it fell off. And I think this goal area number 4 was fabulous that we added this, just different strategies for sustaining the momentum that we've been experiencing for the last 10 years. So all told, you see the total number of objectives, total number of actions within each of these, the total number of actions that we completed or institutionalized. We did not eliminate any, and then the total number of actions that were included in the current year of the strategic plan, 14. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in being able to roll over these actions if we didn't feel like we had completed them or and we had no reason to eliminate them. We just rolled them over. And so, I'll be excited to share news on these actions next year. Hopefully we'll have eliminated, or achieved most of those actions, those 14, in next year's assessment. These are a list of the institutional planning documents that we have. I know board members have been directed to the page that Dolly and Ryan and Tyler update continuously in the research department, but for anyone else, I would invite you to dig into these reports. Anything you want to know about student achievement and other things related to COS, you can find on our institutional planning website. So thank you for that. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Showing off, Dolly, showing off. Questions regarding our annual report on the master plan?
Too busy looking at the squirrels. Chipmunks, what are they? Squirrels.
Chipmunks.
Chipmunks.
Very thorough, and appreciate that update always. Any comments, questions?
Thank you.
All right. Move now to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar considered routine will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any person in the audience and considered as a separate item. We have minutes of a previous meeting, personnel reports, payment of bills, the working budget approval for current fiscal year, out-of-state travel requests for Student Senate, and out-of-state travel requests for track and field. Entertain a motion to approve or to pull an item.
Second.
By Trustee Cardoza, second by Trustee Sherman to approve as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the moved item, which is the 2021-22 audit report. Mr. Perez.
We should have let him wing it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to win.
They had it committed to memory, 80-some pages or whatever it was.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent President Calvin. Tonight, we're going to be presenting the 21-22 audit. Again, that's July 1st of 21 through June 30th of 22. Couple things. Per ed code, we are, as a district, responsible to have an audit conducted by an external auditing firm, presented to you to receive and accept the audit. Before I introduce John Dominguez, partner from CWDL, I just want to throw some kudos and thanks out to my staff. Linda McCauley, our Chief Accounting Officer, Leangela Miller-Hernandez, the Director of Budget and Categorical Accounting, and their staff, as well as the entire COS community, to adhering to our policies and procedures. Because sometimes we have the bad thing of saying, no, we can't do these things, but the good thing is you won't see any findings in there. So that's what we ultimately want to do. So with that, I'm going to present John Dominguez, who is the partner at CWDL, our certified public accountant. He'll go over the audit. Again, the audit covers our general fund, unrestricted, restricted accounts, as well as our foundation, as well as our bonds. So with that, John, I'll leave the reins up to you, and then he and I will be happy to answer any question you may have at the end. John?
Excellent. Thank you. And I think if I've got the ability to share my screen here, I can pull that up and just walk through some brief highlights. As was mentioned, very positive results. So it'll make this presentation quick and easy, which is good. But this ultimately is the culmination of a lot of work, as was mentioned by a number of district staff, not only fiscal services where we primarily operate, but throughout the college, as we look at state and federal compliance, all of that leading us up to ultimately this final deliverable. And so with that, I'll just go over some brief highlights, and I'll open up for any questions at the end. But again, diving into some positive results. On page 1 of that report, we render the first of our 4 audit opinions. This is our independent auditor's report on the accuracy and completeness of the financial information presented before you. You may note that this does look slightly different. There was a new audit standard that was implemented this year as required, where we've shifted the opinion to the front. This is ultimately what we bring to the table as part of this process. So we've now got the opinion listed here, where we're rendering an unmodified opinion, the best opinion at our disposal, which essentially says the information management provided to us that we performed, subjected our audit procedures to, was accurate, it was complete, it agreed to what was submitted to the state chancellor's office. So very, very good results there. And I'll just briefly note that there was a new Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncement that became effective this year, GASB 87, covering the leases. So a little change to the way the leases are reported, and the district did a fantastic job of managing and implementing that completely. And we did not modify our opinion with respect to this matter because it was done excellently. So with that, briefly just kind of talking through the MD&A, management's discussion and analysis, pages 4 through 10, some really good information on, summarizing, what's in the report, the contents, how a reader might view these in overview. I won't go into detail on this, but some really good financial highlights. So kudos to management for really, spelling out some relevant, some detailed information to the reader of the financials. I'll move into the core financial statements, beginning with this statement of net position. And I will, as I mentioned, kind of just point out a few of those changes. Under the non-current assets, we do see a lease receivable. That's a new item. Intangible right of use assets, also related to the district leasing of cell towers, of facilities. Those all are reported now in a slightly different manner. Some of those existed, whether it be capital leases, operating leases, in various parts of the financials, just done a little bit differently now, again, in full compliance of GASB 87. One item of note that's some good news. I know with this group in the past, I've talked about the pension liability, the net pension liability. You'll see that down here under the liabilities has decreased to that 46.9 million. That's a really positive trend from what we had seen in the prior year. I think last year was just over 84 million. So a significant decrease. Another thing we did talk about in the past was the volatility of that number, where we did say that was going to kind of swing from year to year. The actuarial studies conducted over that net pension liability run about 12 months behind. So just keep in mind, we're looking at market results, those favorable market trends, about a year lag. So we do expect maybe to swing at least leveled off, maybe even in the opposite direction, but nonetheless, a good trend to see that liability coming down significantly. And so then as we move on to the footnotes, page 34, I mentioned this is a lease receivable. This is a new note required by that new standard, GASB 87. Talks a little bit about the cellular leases and additional office space leased to external parties. A little information on, the number of contracts, what those leases look like. Again, fully proper implementation of GASB 87, done fantastically there by district management. On page 50, a summary of those pensions. And again, as I mentioned, those have come down significantly, that collective net pension liability down to the 46.9 million. We do see some of that offset by the inflows there, just as an attempt under that GASB standard to kind of smooth out that activity, but nonetheless, some positive results there. And moving in to note 19 on page 60, I did just want to point out that the implementation of GASB 87 did require a prior period adjustment. As we've explained in this note, no concern there. That's a full proper implementation that was required to be retrospective. So that's done properly there. And just pointed out to the reader in note 19 that's part of that new standard. One of the last financial pieces on page 74 I wanted to point out is a really good reconciliation of each one of the district's funds, general fund, debt service, all the way down. And it helps you reconcile how you get from that fund financial total down to the net assets reported within that statement of net position. So these are all of our GASB conversion entries, items long-term in nature, such as the capital assets, the lease activity, OPEB pensions, all those deferred inflows and outflows, the fun stuff that we as accountants love, all reported here just to help you reconcile, how you might get from those figures reported at the fund level down to the net position. So great summary, great analysis there for a reader to be able to kind of reconcile and walk through that. And then finally, just a summary of those last three opinions. I mentioned there were 4 in total. We also render our opinion on the district's controls over financial reporting and compliance, where we'd identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. None of those came to our attention. In our testing, we felt the results concluded a very, very strong control environment by the district, not only over controls, but also on compliance with federal awards. We did audit some of the HERF funds, as well as the student financial aid cluster. And then, as you know, all of the requirements for the state compliance as mandated by the state chancellor's office. So continuing a trend of very positive financial and compliance results. Those were the highlights I wanted to cover. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have over our audit procedures or the results here of this June 30, 2022 audit.
Yeah, John, just for a point of clarification, could you just describe the difference between net pension liability and the OPEB?
Sure. So the net pension liability is going to be related to the district's participation in the CalSTRS and CalPERS pension systems. And then the OPEB is the district's post-employment benefits other than pensions. And so that's going to be, health, welfare, dental, vision, all those type of plans and programs individually to the district versus the pensions is the district's proportionate share of those CalSTRS and CalPERS programs.
Thank you, John. I had asked Ron to just make that clarification because with the OPEB, obviously that's the one where we kind of have the ability to, in our case, be, I think, overfunded and take care of that versus all we're doing on the retirement piece is taking our proportional share from a statewide system that we have no control over. Is that right, John?
That's exactly right. And you can see here in note 14 is that OPEB plan. And you see there exactly as you mentioned, the one that you have direct control over is an asset. It's over a $2 million asset because of the proactive approach and really the swift action taken by the district and the board to kind of be ahead of that liability. Good news there. And then exactly as you mentioned, on the other side, the pensions, we're really at the mercy of the state system. Obviously, those are just the statutorily required contribution rates. And we kind of cross our fingers and hope for positive investment results and trends to bring that down over the years. But that's exactly correct, those statements on each system.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Board members?
Yeah, and just as a further clarification, that net pension liability was a GASB, I don't know the number, of course, but that wasn't promulgated until just a couple of years ago, if I recall, because
Yep.
before, that didn't even show up. So it just,
Correct.
it just kind of
Correct.
came, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was GASB 68 several years back. The GASB does a great job of keeping us as CPAs employed, making us feel really important with these new standards and constant implementations. But you're exactly right. That was a new one several years back.
Well, it seems to me, John, that Ken, as a CPA, should probably know it was GASB 68. So thank you for supporting him and picking him up there.
Ken has a Gatsby sweatshirt, We rely upon Ken significantly. Other questions, comments on the
Yeah,
audit?
just a couple of quick
Yeah.
things, if you don't mind. John, I'm looking at page 12, which is the operating statement, if you will. And so if I look at the first item on there, the tuition and fees gross of 10 million, and am I correct in assuming that that subtraction of 6.7 million is the allowance for the lack of a better name, the free tuition that the state has ongoing? Is that correct?
Yeah, so that would typically be in the past referred to as the BOG fee waiver, but that's exactly right. That's the statewide fee waivers are reported there, that 6.7 million.
And so I think maybe I think it may be good to point out, if I look further down on that page 12, I can see the under grants, contracts, where it shows federal amount in the amount of $62 million. And I think you detail that out very nicely on page 69. And the biggest item there is the 41 million that came from what we refer to as the COVID HERF dollars, and those are the amounts that we were awarded and expended, correct? And
That is correct.
We did not apply for it unless we had a qualifying expenditure for those funds, is that?
Yeah, you'll see where the institutional was 21.9. Remember, that's all the retrofitting, the smart classrooms that we did. The 19.7 million was direct money in the hands of the students that needed it during
Wow,
COVID.
so I point that out for two reasons. Number one, to show the volume of dollars that came in and helped not only the institution in general, but the student population as well. So that's one reason that I would point to the fact that our decrease in what's the word I'm looking for? FTEs didn't decrease more than it did, number one. And I also point that out because having spent that amount of funds for just under $42 million, and I don't see any in your report, I don't see anything that tells me that any of those dollars were misspent or that we have to pay that back in any way. So again, that would be a positive point for our district and our accounting staff in general and the oversight of that. So I would just like to point that out, and I think I'm correct in saying that.
I think in total, we received over the last 2 fiscal years, 2 years back, about 62 million. So this just shows the 41. So yeah, knock on wood, no findings whatsoever in that big dollar amount.
Follow up to that, are the audits on those funds complete, or will they be ongoing, you believe?
No, the audits are complete,
They
John,
are.
right? You finished the
So,
audit
but
for all the
even
COVID funds?
all the COVID money, though, there's no more federal audits coming after this year? We're done? That's kind of nice. Because some had predicted it might go on for a few years. I remember when the money first started being handed out, so that's a good sign.
No, as soon as we
Okay.
got the money, we had a plan, the district had a
Uh-huh.
plan,
Yep.
and we make sure
Done.
we got that in the
Okay.
hands of the students.
Good, good.
Questions or comments? Ken, anything else?
Nothing else?
Okay, good.
Thanks, John, for your great work.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Excellent.
Have
Thank
a
you
great
very
night.
much.
Thank you.
So the recommended action would be for the Board of Trustees to receive and accept the audit for the 21-22 fiscal year.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the 21-22 audit report as presented.
Second.
Moved by trustee Nunes and seconded by trustee Cardoza to accept the report as outlined by Mr. Perez. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
And to all your staff, too.
Yeah, pass along, please, our appreciation. Curriculum new, modified, and deleted. Dr. Lacerna, item 10.
Good evening again. The curriculum report is before you. That's been approved by the Academic Senate and the Curriculum Committee, and it's recommended that the board pass this curriculum. There are 2 new courses on page 1, a new industrial robots course and a transition to college course. The bottom of page 1 are all course modifications. These are your typical updates every 2 to 5 years, depending on the course. Included on page 2, same thing, just regular updates on those courses. The bottom of page 2 is regular updates to programs, including construction, industrial automation, culinary, and page 3, regular 2-year review for our certificates of achievement and skill certificates. Pretty short one, and recommended the board approve this.
Moved.
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded to accept the curriculum as outlined by Dr. Lacerna. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Student Equity Plan. Ms. Morrison.
Good evening, board members, President Calvin, and all of my colleagues here. Tonight, we are requesting board approval for the 2022-2025 Student Equity Plan. Just a little bit of history. In 2014, the Student Equity Plan was codified into Educational Code. Previously, our Student Success and Support Plan is what it was called prior to that, that started in 2012. As we wrote those reports, there was maybe a paragraph about student equity prompted by the chancellor's office in there. So it was nice to see in 2014, they have created a whole separate plan that strategically forces colleges, which is great, to look at our disproportionately impacted student groups and to try to close the achievement gaps. These are a 3-year cycle. These plans, as you can see, and College of the Sequoias and all colleges that received the funding for this are on their 3rd iteration of this plan. Just so you know, kind of the funding that is attached to it, it's required through Ed Code, but this college receives about $4.8 million annually to facilitate the actions in this plan. The plan has recently been approved through our Equity and Diversity and Action Committee, our Academic Senate, and our District Governance Senate, and now comes to the board. In a second here, I'll be introducing Juan Vasquez, who was previously introduced. He is one of our Deans of Student Services. He also acts as the administrative co-chair of the Equity, Diversity, and Action Committee, along with our psychology faculty member, Kelly Diaz. She worked really, really hard on this with Juan. So I'd like to thank Juan and Kelly. Also, Dr. Dolly Ozturk. As you can see, this all we had to do was cut and paste from his slides. We took about 32 of them out, but so tonight, tonight there's 7. But Dolly, you know how much I appreciate all the work you do and pulling this together. So y'all can thank me later, but thank you very much, Dolly. And to Tyler in your office, who has done so much work for us. Please do. So yes, I will turn this over to Dean Vasquez to kind of go through this. This, again, was worked on with our, we call it EDAC, our equity committee, and then brought to the various senates to move through approval. So without further ado, here is Juan Vasquez.
Thank you. Good evening, board. All right. So it's interesting, that little box up top. But it's all right.
Okay, let's try it
So
Another
when we're
fancy
looking,
trick of Dolly's.
I don't know what was there.
so that's okay. When we're looking at the equity plan, what the state is asking us to do is to align it with multiple different things. So the vision for success, we're aligning our equity plan with our master plan, strategic plan, so all the goals that were just reviewed by President Calvin, district objectives, we've done a good job of aligning them all together. So about this iteration, the 2022 to 2025 student equity plan, so where the metrics come from, it's all there. The purpose of the equity plan, again, is to guide the district's equity efforts and planning activities for specific student populations. And then, of course, the benefit is to align everything, again, with strategic plan and guided pathways to better serve disproportionately impacted groups. So Dolly's group and our research office has done a great job of disaggregating all of the data. There's a lot of it. And basically what we're looking at are 5 different metrics. These are the 5. So successful enrolled, persistence, completing the math and English within their first year. The 4th one is attaining the vision completion goal, which is basically whatever the students come in as their district objective, whatever their educational objective, whether that's certificate, transfer, degree. And then the 5th one is transferring to a 4-year institution within 3 years. So, of course, they crunch the data, and there's actually 72 different subgroups of disproportionately impacted groups. And our state is asking us to select and kind of pull out, of course, we're doing work with every one of these groups, but to really pull out one group per metric. So we're looking at 5 different groups here. And what the tables you're looking at here are our primary groups with the most DIG designations. So these are the groups that kind of fell under more than one and kind of fell at the top of being selected for multiple designations. So I'm actually going to skip ahead here. So we can kind of see the 5 different groups there. So as our EDAC group, or as our equity committee looked at the data and started looking at the district objectives and the goals that we have in our master plan and strategic plan, this is what we came up with. So now this looks like a similar slide to a couple, just a couple back, but now we've put in the actual disproportionately impacted group. So for successful enrolled, our district has selected Black and African American. In parentheses, it'll either say overall, male, or female. So successful enrolled is, again, those the proportion of COS applicants. President Calvin kind of mentioned this, and we talked about the event just last week. So when we're looking at access and we're looking at enrolling students, that is the group that we're going to be focusing on, or at least to report back to the state. Of course, we're not excluding all other groups, but this is the one we're looking at for successful enrolled.
That's really an important point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you start working through the data, there's just so many different subpopulations of students, and there's so many different metrics that the state just said, you need to focus on 5, but that doesn't mean that we're working any less hard for groups that don't appear on this. Isn't that an important distinction? Because if this is all we had to do and all the state had to do was review equity reports, I think we'd all say, let's put 50 of these up there, not 5. Let's put 50 on them and report. And I think from the state's point of view, this is just a kind of a barometer of how we're doing, a temperature check, if you will, that pick 5 that clearly are underrepresented in these areas, and let's see how you're doing, but don't serve them to the exclusion of others. Is that a fair way to say it?
Well said. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's exactly what this is. And again, we started with actually 72. So when our equity committee looked at this, we started with a much larger group, and this is what we've narrowed it down to. And we've narrowed it down based on the data. So which populations have greater numbers, which populations have greater impact, that we can really move the needle district-wide. So for persistence, first generation male is what stood out, and that's who we will be reporting on. Completed transfer math and English will be our foster youth, that's male and female. Attain the vision completion goal will be, we actually selected 2, LGBT overall, and our students with disabilities, male. When it came to transfer to a 4-year institution, economically disadvantaged, so that's going to be a larger group, and that'll be male and female. Dolly's group has also done a really good job of creating a COS, Student Equity Plan Summary Report, and that's already on our website there, and that kind of, for a lot of times the common questions are, some of the groups that aren't listed within that group of 5, and so a lot of the data and a lot of the answers to those questions are sometimes there. So again, thank you, Dolly. But any questions here?
A lot of data to go through, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I did enjoy looking at the equity plan reflection, the activities, the summary, reducing attrition rates. But I thought it was really important, or I appreciated looking at the friction points, looking at areas, kind of addressing what issues or what difficulties are there. So I enjoyed reading this plan. So thank you very much for that, and the efforts that are being placed to address them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
Cool. Any other questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion to approve the student equity plan for 2022 through 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Macareno, seconded by trustee Cardoza to accept the very thorough and well-presented report, equity report. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
All right. Next up is board policy second read. Dr. Calvin.
Okay, we are reviewing these for the second time. Answered a few questions last time. Happy to answer any questions this time. You see at the end of your packet, Board Policy 2410, Policy and Administrative Procedures. This is just the procedure by which we review and approve board policies. We've just changed the process just a little bit to make sure that we're giving ample time to faculty and the academic senate for 10+1 items, but for the rest of our board policies, administrative procedures, we're reducing the time just a little bit, and because we're looking at our calendar for our creditors, and knowing that if we continue on the current schedule, we're not going to get through all of our BPs and APs in a 5-year cycle, which is what we're always shooting for. COVID or no COVID, we're still about a year behind if we don't kind of get on our horse a little bit. This will allow us to get caught up and then stay caught up. So we worked with Academic Senate through this, answered questions for them. They've approved it. It's been approved at the DGS. So we're seeking your approval here tonight. And then on 6250, again, the Chancellor's Office has historically given us a percentage as a minimum reserve level. They've changed that and requested us to have an average of 2 months of total unrestricted and restricted general fund operating expenditures in reserve. Some would say it doesn't really pertain to us because we have a much higher level that we've set as a board, but they still want us to change it in our board policy, so we've made that change in 6250. Happy to answer any questions you might have regarding these two BPs.
Approve with one motion.
I believe so, yes.
I move we approve 20, Board Policy 2410 and Board Policy 6250.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Trustee Sherman, seconded by Trustee Cardoza to approve the two board policies as outlined. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Passes unanimously. Two quick things. One, I know we acknowledge, but I want to formally acknowledge my counterpart, John Zumwalt, who served very ably and is really the only reason that I'm here. So I appreciate that, John, and appreciate all of your work. And then finally, I didn't say anything, but I do sincerely appreciate the confidence that the board has in electing me to another term. I fully acknowledge that I am one of 5 plus 1 on any vote or any conversation. So happy to turn the key, but
You definitely
car
deserve
runs on
another
its own.
year.
Thank you so much.
We'll keep doing it until he gets it right.
Yeah, that's good luck. Thank you. We're standing adjourned.